Alcohol, it's just kind of everywhere, isn't it? It's at parties, it's how we celebrate, it's how we wind down after a long week. It's so normal that we barely even think about it. But have you ever really stopped and considered what's actually happening inside your body from that very first sip? Well, we're about to follow the science on that exact journey.
So this is the big question, right? For years, we've heard it all. A glass of red wine is good for your heart, or everything in moderation. But is any of that true? Is that nightly glass actually helping you, or is it quietly doing harm? We're going to cut through all the noise and just look at what the cold, hard biological evidence says. And trust me, the science is a lot clearer than you might think.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to trace the path of a single drink through the body. We'll start at the very beginning with the basic chemistry. Then we'll dig into what's happening when you feel that buzz. After that, we'll explore the misery of a hangover, and finally, we'll zoom out to see what happens over the long term. Let's get started.
Okay, first things first. Before we can even begin to talk about the effects, we need to understand what we're actually up against. So let's take a look at the fundamental chemistry of what's in that glass.
The active ingredient in alcoholic drinks is a molecule called ethanol. And ethanol has this, well, it's kind of like a chemical superpower. It's soluble in both water and fat. Now, why does that matter? Because it means ethanol can bypass all the normal security measures on our cells. It's like it has a VIP all-access pass to every single organ, every tissue, every cell in your body. Nothing is off-limits, especially your brain.
And here's where things get really interesting and kind of scary. Your liver has to process this stuff, right? But it does it in this very strange two-step way. First, it takes ethanol, which is already a toxin, and converts it into something called acetaldehyde. And get this, acetaldehyde is an even more potent, more aggressive poison. It's way worse than the ethanol itself. It's only after dealing with that super toxic intermediate that your body can finally convert it to acetate, which is basically just an empty calorie your body can burn. Now, this is a total game changer for how you might think about drinking. That feeling we call a buzz or being tipsy, the very thing people drink to achieve, it isn't some harmless state of relaxation. It is, quite literally, the physical sensation of a poison, that acetaldehyde, actively interfering with your brain's communication network. You are feeling the effects of poison disrupting your neural circuits.
So let's zoom in on the brain and see what that disruption actually looks like in real time. What is neurologically happening up there that makes us feel and act so, well, differently?
Now, you've probably noticed that not everyone reacts to alcohol in the same way. For an occasional drinker, you might get a brief feeling of stimulation, but that's usually followed pretty quickly by sedation, feeling tired, a bit clumsy. But for some people, especially those with a genetic predisposition, that alert, energized, good feeling can last for a long time. And that prolonged positive feeling is actually a major biological warning sign for a much higher risk of developing alcohol dependence. Ever been at a quiet gathering that suddenly gets way louder after people have a drink or two? Well, here's exactly why that happens. Alcohol's first port of call in the brain is the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain that's in charge of planning, good judgment, and, crucially, putting the brakes on impulsive behavior. Alcohol essentially cuts those brake lines, and as soon as those brakes are off, people start talking louder, saying things they normally wouldn't, and acting with a whole lot less foresight.
Okay, let's talk about the dreaded morning after. The pounding headache, the fatigue, the overwhelming sense of regret. We all know what a hangover feels like, but what is scientifically happening inside our bodies to cause all that misery?
A hangover isn't just one thing. It's a full-on multi-system crisis. You feel exhausted because alcohol absolutely wrecks your deep restorative sleep cycles. Your stomach feels awful because the alcohol has damaged your gut lining and triggered inflammation throughout your body. And that classic throbbing headache? That's from your blood vessels constricting as the alcohol wears off. It's a multi-front attack, and your whole body is paying the price.
So, is it true that some drinks give you worse hangovers than others? Oh, absolutely. And surprisingly, the main culprit usually isn't sugar. It's a group of toxic byproducts from fermentation called congeners. These are what give drinks their distinctive flavors and colors, and the rule of thumb is pretty simple. Darker drinks, like brandy, red wine, and whiskey, are loaded with congeners, making them the heavyweights of the hangover world. Clearer spirits like vodka and gin have far fewer, which is why they tend to be a bit gentler the next day.
Hangovers are awful, but they're temporary. So what about the effects that don't just go away after a day? Let's zoom out now and look at the science of what happens when drinking isn't just a one-time thing, but a regular habit.
To get a really solid answer on this, scientists went to a massive research database called the UK Biobank.
They analyzed the actual brain scans of over 35,000 adults and compared them directly to their self-reported drinking habits. We are talking about a truly unprecedented amount of data here.
And the results were, frankly, shocking. They found that even for people drinking just low to moderate amounts, we're talking 1 or 2 drinks a day, there was measurable brain shrinkage, specifically a thinning of the neocortex, which is the part of our brain responsible for all our higher-level thinking. And the effect was linear. The more people drank, the more thinning they saw. In this huge data set, there was simply no safe amount that didn't show a negative effect.
And here is maybe the cruelest irony of all. A lot of people drink to relax, to take the edge off stress, but chronic drinking actually rewires your body's stress response system. It causes you to release more of the stress hormone cortisol when you're sober, so you actually end up feeling more anxious and stressed out at your baseline, which then makes you crave that drink for relief, trapping you in a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle.
And the damage goes way beyond the brain. Remember that super toxic byproduct acetaldehyde? Well, it can directly damage the DNA in your cells. This is exactly why alcohol is classified as a known carcinogen. The link to breast cancer is particularly strong. Studies show that for every single standard drink you have per day, the risk of developing breast cancer goes up by a staggering 4 to 13%.
So after following this journey all the way through the body, from cellular poisoning to brain shrinkage, let's circle all the way back to our original question.
But wait, I know what you're thinking. What about the antioxidants in red wine? And yeah, it's true that compounds like resveratrol exist, but the amounts are so incredibly tiny that you'd have to drink toxic, life-threatening levels of alcohol to get any real benefit. When you look at the total body of evidence, especially from huge studies like the UK Biobank, the scientific conclusion is just unavoidable. From a health perspective, there is no amount of alcohol that is good for you. The damage scales with consumption, and it starts with the very first drink. Look, the point of all this isn't to tell anyone what to do. It's about empowering you with the science so that you can make informed choices for your own health. Understanding what's really happening inside your body is the most powerful tool you have. So now that you know, the only question left is, what will you do with this information?